absolutely know picked up the story so quickly. I know over the past few years, his student government action has been picked up in national publications, and I don't believe that happened this quickly.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Osborne. Ms. Cummings.
Sure. Senator Cummings, Assistant Director for AMS. I was wondering if it's possible to get clarification as to whether Nick was asked to speak as an individual or if he was asked to speak as the rector. If there's an email or something like that, maybe?
Thank you, Ms. Cummings. Mr. Day, I guess you can respond to that.
The direct question. Nick Day, Rector. Brian approached me in the hallway and said, there's a Remembrance Day. Brian Nealon, the chaplain, approached me in the hallway in the JDUC and said, I'll be meaning to find you. There's this Remembrance Day event. I'm really interested in your thoughts at this event. I don't know what we can infer from that, what he intended.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Day. I know it's out of no disrespect, Ms. Cummings, but just for everybody's reference, please refer to any AMS members here or non-AMS members by their surname. Mr. McPherson.
Mr. McPherson, Assistant Rep to AMS. So I'm just sort of thinking about a question that was brought up a lot earlier about where Mr. Day and the rector position falls sort of in the purview of the AMS and AMS Assembly. And just want to remind everyone to think about the implications of the AMS censuring someone who is not a member of the AMS and what that means. To me, it doesn't make sense, and it's definitely beyond our jurisdiction, and is bound to alienate people either way, whether we endorse or censure what Mr. Day's speech was about. And I think it's our job as AMS Assembly is not to silence or any political stance on our campus, and we shouldn't be doing that. And I would argue that the motion to censure Mr. Day does take a political stance, and there's no way to avoid that because it is going to alienate people who did agree with the statements that he made.
Point of information, sorry, Mr. Osborne?
Yeah, yes, it is a fact. The motion used the word censure, not censor. Free speech is not being violated.
Okay. I did not imply that free speech was being violated.
Okay, thank you for your point, Mr. Osborne. Mr. McPherson, you may continue.
Okay. Also, I was trying to say censure. Sorry if my pronunciation was not correct. Also, just want to say that it's not the job of AMS Assembly and is not possible for AMS Assembly to represent all students. That's not what our job is, and it's impossible. So we shouldn't, that's not what we should be trying to do right now.
Can I get a point of information? Like, I'm responding to something that I think my words have been misconstrued. Can I get
Yeah, you can make a point of personal privilege if you think you've been misquoted. I do not using it as an opportunity to reiterate your debate. You can correct it.
Okay. I have never said, in fact, I said just the opposite, that no person can represent the true, universal spirit of everyone believes, but that they should try.
Okay, thank you for clarifying, Mr. Greger. Mr. Day.
Nick Day?
Oh, Mark Day, sorry.
Mark Day, student at large. My sentiments were mostly vocalized by Mr. Osborne in regards to the Times Magazine. I think part of this debate has gone a bit off track. This isn't about the content of what Nick Day said. It is about the fact that he used his position in his speech and claimed to represent the students of Queens when he made the speech. That is what is at issue here, not his opinions.
Points of personal privilege. I'm just going to read from this, Nick Day, Rector, I'm just going to read from the speech. I say at the beginning that the rector is a student elected by the student body to represent them to the university administration. And then one paragraph later, I say, I thought for a long time about how to do my speech on this solemn topic. I decided to begin by relating my family history and my remembrance of war and what this has meant to me in terms of being a citizen of Canada. And that's in the third paragraph of my speech.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Ms. Turner.
I just want to just respond. Oh, sorry. Elizabeth Turner, member at large. I just want Elizabeth Turner, member at large. I just want to respond to Mr. Johnson's comments earlier, and I think that it's also impossible to say that Nick Day could have made a speech that didn't offend anyone. I would have been deeply offended if Mr. Day hadn't talked about suffering and war going on now in a remembrance of war.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Mr. Qureshi.
Yeah, just a couple of things.
So name and position.
Sorry, Joel Qureshi, CPS President. Just a few things. I mean, I think we've been shifting frames. We started off talking about how this was a policy that the AMS had about being apolitical. After that, we sort of moved to discussions about how the speech itself was offensive. After that, it became about whether or not Mr. Nick Day, as rector, attends meetings. After which, it became about whether or not it was an appropriate time or place. So I think that there's shifting frames. So I think we need to get down to the question. And the question, I think, is, in my opinion again, would be, I mean, does the AMS really want to get into the business of policing speeches that have been approved at other levels of the university? I think that's what's being asked for here, if it's a matter of policy. If it's not an emotional stand, if it's not a political stand, then is it a policy issue that people perhaps want the AMS to get into the business of policing speeches? So if that's what it is, then perhaps we need to say that, right? So to me, that's the question.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Qureshi. Mr. Cannon.
Mike Cannon, Esther for the AMS. I just want to say 2 points. First, the idea that the AMS Assembly cannot make political statements. I believe at the end of last year, Assembly passed a motion saying that we weren't allowed to make political statements unless they affected the students' experience here at Queen's University. And I believe that this would constitute affecting the student experience. That said, we can take a political stance in this. Secondly, my understanding of this motion is not that we want to say or censor Nick Day and like basically revoke his speech. It's that the idea of passing this motion is going to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Greger, but that the AMS would have preferred that Mr. Day make a stance that did incorporate all.